Enigma Media!
You push for this other me.
What up, headbangers? How you doing? I'm Robb O'Day, and welcome to the Greasiest of all time. Today, we're chilling with Bullet to the Heart from Chicago. How you guys doing?
What up? Fantastic.
Why don't you introduce yourselves and let us know how the band got together?
You want to start or you want me to start?
Oh, sure, I'll start. So
right.
I'm Brian. I play the guitar, the git fiddles, I call it. And I also do some video work, and I do tracking for our band. So when we record, I usually record them, and then we send that to our producer to mix and master everything.
Oh, nice.
All right, my name's Draven. I'm the drummer and band lead. And I do all the business kind of BS, but I
Nice.
play drums, and I like to play drums. So, yeah.
All right.
My name's Tom. I play the bass guitar.
And my name is Audrey, and I'm lead singer
Cool.
and
Yeah.
songwriter.
And there you go.
Right? You guys, so your drummer takes care of everything. That's a first.
Yep.
That I've heard. Most of the time, people are like, "Oh man,
Business-wise,
our
yeah.
drummer barely shows up," or "He's lazy," and I'm like, "Hey." I used to be a drummer, and I was pretty
It's one of
hands-on.
those
So
things normal to us just because we do it. But I suppose that is strange.
You know where I think it stems from? I didn't want to be a drummer at
That's
first.
true. Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What did you want to play?
Yeah, like I always wanted to play guitar, and then I just couldn't figure it out. So I started playing drums, and I don't know. I guess I kept that persona, that ego per se.
That's so funny. I'm complete opposite. I learned guitar first, but always wanted drums because guitar was like, yeah, it's okay. And then I got drums, and I was like, fuck yeah. this is
Drums is
shit.
fun because you just hit shit with necks.
Exactly right. Your guys' latest single, "Falling Away," was from November 2020. How was that experience? Because you mentioned that you do all your recording and your engineering aspect of it.
So that was a super fun one to record. And we have a lot of stuff in the tank, but that was just like the one that we thought was like the most single ready. So we had recorded that and a bunch of other ones in advance, so we're just kind of waiting for the right time to release them.
Sweet.
I
'cause
think we sort of lucked out with the timing. We had planned on doing more self-recording and being more independent before the world changed the way it did. So I think we did luck out a lot on that. And the experience it's challenging, but it's worthwhile.
And it's also nice being able to at least do like the recording and tracking aspect on our own instead of like,
Yeah.
we have we can take our time and make sure we get things exactly the way that they want them to be, as opposed to having to pay someone by the hour to record it and hoping that you get the right take.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we've done both. We paid somebody like locally. We went to like a bigger studio and have done this, and we found out that like this thing, just the four of us in a room, kind of works best.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So in going into that song, we wanted to do like a modern rock song, you know?
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that because I listened to the EP or album prior, and
Okay.
it's got a lot heavier elements to it. But then you listen to your latest single, and it's like it's very, very melodic and chill and really hard and heavy at the same time, which is really unique. But then you hit that fucking breakdown, and it's like, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? So, like, and that's so cool. Who does your guys' screams? Are you just the main vocalist, or does guitar, drummer, bassist?
My guitarist will do some harmonies for me. The screaming is mainly our drummer over here. I do yelling. I don't prefer to scream, so I let him do that.
That's so cool. So definitely like Aaron Gillespie, how he used to. Now he's the screamer for Under Oath. That's where he used to be the clean singer. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool to see how when drummers can do that, because a lot of drummers can't multitask like that. That's
It's definitely a challenge, especially live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't played live in a long time. But when we come back, I want to get one of those like headset mics because I want to do more on that aspect.
Because this is
There's a lot of songs where it's in
Yeah.
the yeah that dude,
Yeah.
that sucks.
yeah.
Because that's how we started to do it. Because like even in like the EP you listen to, like Trials, that song, there's screams throughout it, but it's so muffled in the mix because it's used as a layering technique that live it doesn't really fit because I kind of can overpower it and I don't think it works. And then I'm doing all these drums and then trying to reposition myself and I'm like, it's not worth it. But with a song like Falling, once we get back into the swing of things, I want to start sounding more like the record, more full.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard thing because I remember one of my first bands when I started drumming. I tried to do the whole drumming and singing, and yeah, the kinked neck sucks. It's hard. Like a headset would be
Yeah.
prime. Yeah, I definitely think that would be a tool to utilize as a drummer versus any other member. I mean, other members can just kind of walk around and do what they need to, but you're kind of stationary, and if your mic moves on you, for example, you hit it with your drumstick, like I happen
Yeah,
to do
you're
all the
screwed.
time.
Yeah.
You're fucked, you know what I mean? You're like mid song trying to hit your snare with
Yeah.
one. So yeah, it's really
Well, especially
cool.
like some of the stuff, it's weird to like be doing a rhythm and then you have to match what she's doing in her rhythm that's accenting something else.
Mhm.
And that's what trips up a lot of drummers.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that if you're able to do that, then you'd be able to play polyrhythms out the asshole. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
that's kind of a cool thing because I don't think a lot of drummers nowadays use polyrhythms. Like they got really popular at a point and then all of a sudden it kind of died out. There's certain drummers that use them now. Like
Yeah, it's a niche market.
yeah, like Matt from Animals as Leaders. He's like one of my favorite for polyrhythms because you're like, how do you have so many goddamn? You have 4 limbs and you're playing 8 different fucking timings and time things. You're an alien. So it's musicians are super cool in that aspect of being able to transition from different instruments to other ones and just that the relation between instruments. You know, you can if you play guitar, you can pick up a bass, you can figure out a piano. You understand rhythm, so you can pick up drums. Most drum guitar players can play drums. So it's I don't think as a lot of normal people, I like to say, are as diverse in their skill sets.
Absolutely.
I mean, once you learn one instrument, especially if it's like a melodic instrument, things that you learn on one instrument can translate to a lot of other instruments. You know, intervals are still the same across the board. It's just how you get to those notes is a little bit different. And then, you know, drums is primarily rhythm, but there's other aspects to it. You know, there's how hard you hit the drums, stuff like that. It's all related, and you can all translate that to other instruments.
Dynamics is very key as a drummer. Like I think drummers who just bang on the drums as hard as they can, they don't understand dynamics, and I'm guilty of that for a good 3 years of my life, just going as hard as I could until I realized like bringing the whole mood down. Like the whole band follows the drums. You know what I mean? You can control it in any way you want. And my favorite thing is when you can like when you're jamming per se and you can just like change the rhythm and all of a sudden you're going into this other build up or a different section that you didn't think of, and it's just always led by drums, and it's really cool. That and also the telepathical connection that musicians have where you can know you're about to change something and they already subconsciously know that your rhythm's about to change. And I find that really cool. How do you
that's
guys...
why I think this group works well together because we picked up on that pretty early on.
Yeah.
It's easy to find people who are good at playing instruments, but it's hard to find people that are good at playing instruments that you can vibe well with, especially just like I for a long time before I met these guys, I try to like I have friends that were good at playing instruments, and I'd go like, oh, let's jam, but then like we'd sit in the room for like 3 hours and couldn't figure out anything to play, but then you know we're just messing around and we're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let's make that into a song, you know? And that's just a really beautiful thing to be able to find that, you know? It's hard.
It is really hard to find people that you connect with. And once you have that, it's almost like you're never going to give it up, no matter how long it takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always find it funny when you have bands who like, oh, subconsciously hate a member, or they're just like, they don't get along, but they just continue to write. Like, just end it, you know? If you don't have that connection, the music's not going to be as connected as the members, and that's what you need for music. So I think.
Yeah, it's
that-
got to come from a genuine place.
Yeah, and I mean it's a baby. You know what I mean? I like to say that because it is like a piece of all of you creating this one thing, and it's always hard when you have one member in a band. If you have a member in a band, I guess I should say, that wants it to go like they think they're in control of that one vision. You know what I mean? So when you have people who are like,
Yeah.
this is the agreed upon vision of the band, we're fucking moving forward. That's a cool thing because then there's no holdbacks. You're not forced to sit and dink around, like you said, for 3 hours without writing anything because there's no inspiration. But when you have that group, I find it leads to more inspiration because you're like, damn, just like jam in or talking, and it inspires a riff or a thought process, a concept, and you just fly off of it. There's no stopping it at that point. How do you guys usually go about writing your songs?
So,
It starts with this guy.
yeah,
Them.
Mostly.
I usually come up with a riff, or like I'll just be in my own free time, just kind of like recording riffs that like when I'm jamming, I'll usually like get the song structure going. Like I hundreds upon hundreds of Ableton projects, just different song ideas, and then if I come up with something new that I like a lot, then I'll like make like a little scratch demo, send it out, and be like, "Hey guys, what do you think?" And then we'll build upon that. We'll change things to accommodate different instruments or different vocal styles that we want to try with it. And the other half of the time is back when we were able to see each other and jam a lot more frequently. When I jam with Draven, we just, just be dicking around the guitar and the drums, and we're like, "Hey, actually, wait, hold on."
We laugh about it a lot. I can count. It would take me 2 hands at least to count the number of times where I would go to the bathroom during rehearsal, and I would come back and be like, "Yeah, Tom, we wrote a song."
Yeah.
Just completely unscripted. We had a couple minutes. Yeah, we wrote a song.
God damn, how long was I
And
gone
I think
for?
that like we talk about authenticity. I think it's an authentic moment.
That's no, that's
Yeah,
cool.
we've had a
that-
couple of those moments though.
I mean, that's the magic, right? And that's like I had a band meeting earlier today with my band about talking about re-recording old songs, and I was like, we can't recapture that magic. You know what I mean? Like it was there. You can't force it after that. You just like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And I love the moment when an idea clicks, and then you just see the whole thing just like like the structure just builds in front of you.
Yep.
You see it, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this is the way it's going. And it's just with your guys' music, you can see it because it does flow really well. It has heavy elements, but it also has such a really cool, catchy element to it because it's not poppy per se, but like the melodies you choose vocally are very catching. They're intriguing. You know what I mean? You follow into them, and then when you guys are all working together, it just makes this unique blend of melodies that's just like, damn, this is so cool. Because I've been listening to your album all morning. I always do it. I'm guilty. I check it out first, then the day of, I always sesh the albums or all the songs, and yeah, I find myself like getting lost and hitting repeat. You know what I mean? I get to the end of it, the album, and then I'm like, okay, I want to hear it again, so I like start again. So that's
Nice.
not an easy concept. That's not an easy thing to do, especially nowadays where people can't listen to a whole album.
Yeah, that's always been that's been a current challenge with these current songs that we're recording. We want to make sure each one can stand on its own once it's released as a single, or if it's released as a single. But we also eventually, after releasing a couple more new ones like this year, up and coming this year, we want to put we want to do a third CD. That's something that we want to do. That's like a goal as a band. We want to have a third album, be like, hey, we have 3 albums in the tank, and the songs need to be cohesive and they need to be interesting, but they also need to stand alone by themselves as well.
You know, it's the weird concept that you have to think of every song nowadays as a single. You have to write it to be a single, or like my favorite thing is the songs that aren't singles on an album. You know what I mean? Like the hidden gems. Those are the best
B-side
parts.
stuff.
Yeah, not even like necessarily a B-side. Like it's a good song, it's just on the album, but it's not necessarily the one they chose to be a single and do a music video for. So, or I don't know, it kind of limits us to what we can write now, I think. in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because,
Tom and I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we talk about that. a lot.
We love that's the album track. That's the one I fucking love. You know.
One of those things you're talking about, authenticity and connection. I feel like there's been so many times we've sat down for dinner in 3 hours talking about like what we want something to look like structurally, and we want the seventh song of this album to be that song,
Mhm.
you know, that has that role in the structure of the list, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
just-
even with these current songs, we're gonna slide one or two in there, you know, and into that album. It's gonna be a lot of single quality songs, but we're gonna slip a couple in there.
I mean,
Well, I
at the
think
same
there
time,
are
it's,
definitely songs that are less suited to be singles. They're more like
Yeah.
album tracks. Like,
yeah,
I personally have like a few songs in my tank where they're like really like long, progressive, like almost symphonic type of songs, you know. But like, no one wants to listen to like an 8-minute single, you know.
Unless you're
do.
Tool.
Yeah.
No,
This
I
goes back to yeah.
He said he does. He does.
yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah?
totally do.
For sure.
Yeah. Some of my favorite bands like Carnival and Tool and Rush, like they do long ass fucking songs, but they're composers. You know what I mean? They're not just songs. I find them like symphonies.
Yeah. And I like them too. It's just that like I think that like I was just saying like generally a lot of people just want like the 3 minutes.
Oh yeah. I think
this goes
nowadays
back
people
to
are down
even
for 30
about-
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obvious joke is obvious.
Yeah.
Same.
I almost did.
You made a point about the poppy elements. And I think it ties back to that something that's important to me, and I think that we've grown as a band is bringing in influences from other genres. That we can do the 8-minute things, and we're into Tool, but we're also into pop music, and we're into different kind of stuff, and it shows. And I think it really helps having a unique style.
Yeah, you have to be
'cause I think
diverse.
A lot of bands. I know when I was a young musician, I was guilty of I just want to play metal. And I think a big thing for us is we've grown into our skin a little bit to be more comfortable with different influences and different ideas.
Yeah, you definitely
Plus,
grow.
if you just play the same thing over and over again, that's cool. But like, I feel like music is all about expressing emotion and all that stuff. But like, different types of music can convey different types of emotion. Like, I like my thrash metal and like my deathcore, but I'm not angry all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to relax. You
Yeah.
know, like listen to
Sometimes,
some house music.
sometimes you want to cry, Brian.
Yeah.
No, honestly, when I was 17, all I wanted to do was play Megadeth all day. And now, like, I haven't told you this. We were working on a song where she had this like straight up pop chorus, and I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this chorus. It sounds like a Britney Spears song, and I love it. That's just how things change over time. And I think it's important to change over time.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like if the Beatles never changed or adapted or grew as musicians, they would have stuck as who they were as kids. You know what I mean? Like they would have never had.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have never had Let It Be or like any of these songs that are like legendary. And I don't think that being popular or having elements of pop in your music is bad, because I think you have to be able to appeal to a whole ton of people, not just metal.
Yeah.
I definitely think that metalheads are your key people because they're the most like genuine fans that you'll ever find. Because like you'll never find a fucking hip hop fan, if you make fun of their hip hop artist, they're gonna try and fight you. You know what I mean? Like I know some Slayer fans. You say shit about Kerry King, they'll fight you. So like.
You met them? I've met them too.
Right, and that's what I mean is like we're dedicated to the music we love, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that people used to be like that with other genres, but I think that they just became comfortable with hearing what's given to them and stopped looking for new music. And I definitely think you have to now adapt and be diverse enough to be able to put in elements of pop, elements of jazz, elements of even hip hop, because hip hop is one of the most popular cultures. It's everywhere. And I don't think it's bad, because music needs to adapt, or else we'd be stuck with like Elvis. You know what I mean? It needs to
Yeah,
grow.
right.
So, or else it's boring. I definitely think being creative is the best part of being a musician. Is that ability to say, fuck it, we're gonna put a fucking acapella breakdown here instead of something heavy. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Who
Sometimes you
says
got to
you
get
can't?
weird, you know?
Gotta spice it up.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no limit to what you can do. And if you put yourself in a box, you're fucked instantly. How have you guys managed to?
Yeah, that's why a lot of
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's also like why like just with me trying to do songwriting, like I don't also just like stick to like I don't try to like think of what I'm gonna use a song for before I make it. Like I try to like I make a lot of other stuff too, but I kind of just try to like make music and then think about what box to put in afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, like oh this would be a great song for my band. Oh this will be a great song for me to do in something else. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then that also keeps me like freer because like if I keep myself in like a certain box, then I'm gonna go crazy, you know.
Yeah.
It's also good to take a break too. We learned that as well. Like, take a month off.
Yeah.
You know, let your ideas kind of
Yeah.
come to you. You know, you don't want to force something out. You know.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
we were like working on this last bunch of songs we were working on, like we wanted to get to a certain number of songs, and there was like a point where I was just like, I'm out of gas, and then I didn't listen to music or do anything music related for like 2 months, and then I came back to it and I busted out like 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah. You know, it's I mean, everything's good in moderation, right? You can totally ruin a passion by overdoing it. I think when people say that like doing it as a job ruins it, then no, not necessarily, because like I think it's just the amount you do it and how much you're invested into it can take a lot away. You get burnout from anything, you know what I mean? So you can get burnout from inspiration for sure.
The
Go
big
ahead.
thing I've had to learn personally in life. When I was younger, I always wanted to push through my problems. I think you have at some point you have to learn how to think around them.
Mhm.
And it's just you just can't fight through every brick wall.
Yeah, no, and I mean,
That's good.
yeah, and sometimes you don't have like I personally write my lyrics about what's going on at the moment in my life. If there's struggle, if I'm happy, if there's something politically that's going on that drives me nuts, you know what I mean? So realistically, sometimes in my life it's boring. I'm playing video games. I'm just being lazy. I'm not gonna write about that. I'm not gonna be inspired to write about that. So
Yeah.
breaks are key. I mean, everything is like I said, moderation, because you don't want to get sick of each other too, where you're pulling each other's hair because your ideas aren't working, or just like you have that, I don't know if you've ever hung out with a friend for too long and you're just like, I can't be around you for like a month kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
You don't want to do
I
that with your
live with
band,
2 of my best friends. There's days where I just get home and I'm like, I don't want to see your face right now.
right? Yeah, and I've been there.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's hard when it's when you're band, and I think that's like that's a key thing about what we said earlier about meeting people that you work well with, because if you go on tour, you're stuck in a van or a vehicle for hours on end, for a day, for weeks. And a lot of people I've talked to that go on tour have like either broken up after tour or like members left. You know what I mean? Because it's like they just realize who's invested and who's not, or who can't work with the band. So it's kind of it's a unique thing. It's weird how things work. How has
Yeah.
COVID affected you guys besides performing and all that? Have you guys been able to adapt with the new market of becoming business owners?
Um, at first it really sucked. Like it took me a while to adapt to it, like a couple of months. Like my main job is like working in IT. So like it went from like going into the office every day to just like being in my room like every day for like months on end. And at first I was like going crazy, but then eventually I adapted to it, and then it was just another day in the office. So it was a struggle at first, but I feel like I was able to adapt to it, and then I was able to have more time to work on my creative endeavors, especially with the band and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's
For me, COVID forced me to recontextualize my relationship with music. For so
Mhm.
long, it was just I went to concerts and I played concerts, and that was my life. And all of a sudden, that's not available. And now you have to refigure out, why do I love this? What am I doing with this now that I can't do that anymore? And that
Yeah.
was a big struggle, but it sort of worked itself out over time.
Yeah, and another aspect of
Yeah,
that
I
is
would
you.
say.
Go ahead.
What's up? You cut out.
Oh, go ahead.
I couldn't hear him. What
Can
did
you
you
hear
say? I
me?
missed what you said.
Can you hear
He
me now?
stopped talking to hear what you were gonna say.
Oh, no, you're
Oh,
good.
I thought my junk went all crazy. No, I was gonna say
No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say on a point that you just brought up that it really shows how much you're invested in what you love. It was also kind of like, well, fuck,
Yeah.
we can't perform, we can barely write. What can I do right now to
Yeah.
push us forward? So marketing, or if you're good at videos, you're coming up with content, or you're trying to animate things. Like there's so many different things that like I was talking with a band, I think it was yesterday, and they said you wear so many hats as a band nowadays that
Yeah.
it's almost don't have enough time to write music, and COVID has become a blessing in disguise because every band has finally got to like, okay, sweet. And then there's like so much inspiration because the last year was fucking crazy. Like the only thing that didn't happen was
Oh, yeah.
goddamn aliens or a meteor. So like, it's just there's so much inspiration. I can't wait for it all to come out. Like, just like when you finally get to hear all
And I
these
feel
songs.
blessed.
Go ahead.
I feel blessed. As hard as it was, the timing worked out for us. That we had just gotten off tour when it started, and we weren't planning. Like I feel bad for bands that were like had a tour scheduled last year. You know, stuff like that.
Our plan before COVID happened, we were like, all right, we're gonna spend this year writing,
Yeah.
and
so
they're
it
like,
just kinda
oh,
worked out.
okay,
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it,
Yeah, 'cause we just came off a tour in September of 19, and then we played a couple shows for the end of the year. The plan was to write, and then we had no choice but to write. So there was no distractions. I know myself personally, I really honed into my like marketing strategies, and I've reached out to more contacts and stuff like that as well. Because everybody's Zooming, everybody's doing phone calls. Nobody wants to meet up again. So it's like I kind of honed into that as well.
yeah, for sure.
Which, by the way, you could tell me that tour was last week or 10 years ago, and both answers would seem believable to me.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
for me, man.
Yeah, and I mean the marketing aspect has become so weird because that's all it's
Yeah.
become. Like you have to, and then I love it and hate it at the same time because yeah, we know how to market. We're good business owners at that point, but at the same time, like as many fans as we can collect right now, how many are really going to come to a show when it opens up? Unless you've like physically been there and they've met you at a show, because that's how you actually network. So it's a really fucked up time right now for musicians, and I think that if you are taking the time to write and be marketing and reaching out to labels, random ass fucking radio stations play your shit, so you're gonna make it when this opens up because you're gonna have so much knowledge versus the bands that didn't know what the fuck to do. Like, oh shit, our whole income is based off live tour, and then everything stopped. Like I imagine that the biggest bands are gonna have the hardest time because it's just their whole livelihood is based off of touring, and that's millions of dollars. You know what I mean? I think we're gonna have a way easier time in the post-COVID world, the up and coming bands, because it didn't affect our money necessarily. It affected some, but it affected more like our livelihoods for work, which kind of hinders our lives as musicians. So if you can kind of get away from it and, like I said, write for an entire year, like you're already living the lifestyle. Now just how do you maintain it? So you don't have to go back
That's a good
to
point.
working a full-time job, right? So a lot of big bands I don't think will, or the flooded market won't be as flooded because the bands that didn't adapt die off. You know what I mean? Like just the evolution. If you don't adapt, you die. So
Well, I definitely feel like it separates, like, it definitely separates like the men from the boys kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we saw a lot of bands, even in our scene, like break up because of it.
Yeah.
They broke up because of like political views
Yeah.
or because something other related, just BS. And
Yeah.
a lot of bands are like, oh, we're done. Oh, we're done. And then we're like, hey, that's not going to be us. We're going to do everything we can to stay together.
do the best that you can with the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
And, can't play shows, do literally anything else.
Yeah. Because, it's just another obstacle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a big obstacle, but
It's a
it's
very big
it's just another obstacle.
Yeah,
And I think it's interesting too, at our age, we're all around the same age, and this is definitely a moment in our lives in general where that stuff kind of happens to people. It was important to us to reaffirm why we're doing what we're doing and what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, it's your lifestyle. Like you guys aren't gonna stop just because of lockdown. You know what I mean? Like or little things. I definitely agree with that. I'd never stop. Like I'll be 70 years old still trying to book shows until the day my
Yep.
knees give
Yeah.
out. So I definitely know that post COVID, I think a lot of things are going to open up for
Yeah.
emerging bands for sure, because labels will be looking for new talent because their bands quit, their bands fell off the thing. Like as a musician on such a high level like that, you have to be maintaining tours, music videos, album sales, merch sales. A lot of big people are going to go downhill. I think that's why, like, even if they're popular on the radio now, I wonder, I want to know how their career is doing right now. You know, like their personal lives would be cool to hear, because I guarantee a lot of them are struggling because of it.
Yeah.
That's where we've already struggled. You know, musicians struggle day to day. We're broke. We put all our money into our gear, our tours, our recording, stickers, fucking every little thing that adds up that bands invest. I don't think people realize.
Are you suggesting that artists might be mentally unstable people? 'Cause I don't know about that.
I'd say mentally unstable is borderline genius.
It's a matter of perspective, really.
Yeah.
You gotta be a little crazy to be a genius. So
I know we serve.
and
At least crazy. I don't know if I'm a genius, but I know I'm crazy.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's cool to see the bands that are very, this is their life, you know what I mean? Even if they're performing for 10 people, that's the best fucking 10 people they performed for at that moment in their life. That's how you got to look at it, because then when you're playing for 10,000 people, you know, it's all humble when it hits you, instead of being like, why don't we deserve this? Why aren't we getting big?
Mhm.
What are you doing to earn it? You know, like I'm guilty for doing that myself until COVID, when I was like, fuck, how can we do this? And I started marketing for the band. It's a whole next level now. I don't look at it like just writing songs and playing, booking little shows anymore. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like I want to be on tours. I want to be on festivals. I want to see a sea of faces. Like that's been my dream since I was like fucking 9 years old. So I ain't gonna stop.
Definitely like running a business, you know.
Yeah, and you have to have that passion. It's not like a product for the business. You have to be passionate about what you're selling. I think it's brought more passion into it, because you're marketing, you're realizing like, fuck, look how many people are looking at us now. Like, you look, we're doing it. Like, we're kicking ass by ourselves. That independence is so great to see, and so many bands are taking it for what it is. You know what I mean? And I think that's exactly what we need to do in the industry, because it, like you said, with bands, you're in your area, everyone's separated. Doesn't matter where you are right now. Not even on COVID, but on political aspects, religious aspects, either. Just it's just crazy. The whole world's in a weird place right now through like a global revolution. But last time this happened with a global revolution, music was a key aspect of it. Like you look at, if people back in Woodstock time treated music the way they do now, Woodstock wouldn't be in history. It wouldn't be there. There would be no, we'd have no like legends. You know what I mean? So I think the appreciation of
Yeah.
music has died, and it needs to come back, and it needs to come back in the hands of the musicians, not in the hands of the labels. Because what does a label do? Realistically, if we can record our own shit, we can send it to a friend who can mix and master it, because everyone's honing in on their passions. Like, we don't need labels. We need a community. We need networking between bands, because we're so divided that it's hard to book a tour. You know, you find like one band in this town, but if you have like that networking going on like it used to happen, I think that will definitely take it over again and make something beautiful, where we have people in little venues crowd surfing like we used to 10 years ago. Because that's where that was the scene, man. Music used to be loved.
Yeah.
What do you
And
guys
that's something I'm really. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're all you, bro.
Something I'm really proud of is that we, the four of us, have built a community around our music. But I haven't seen that happen, at least not in our area, around a group of bands, a group of music. and that's something I would like to see post-COVID. I do think that community aspect is missing, absent of a label, absent of corporatism.
Yeah, it's like everyone's kind of being like, like dog eat dog mentality, as we're all
Yeah.
struggling. We still gotta book shows together. You can't headline by yourself. It doesn't work like that. I think,
Yeah, and I think people know that now. They're kind of seeing it. So like, I really hope, like, again, what you said was very well worded. I really hope that it shows like a rise,
Yeah.
mhm,
of like community, and like, hey, we need to do this together, because if you're struggling, I'm struggling. If you're doing good, I could do good,
Yeah.
mhm.
and everybody together can come together as a community again. That
Yeah,
would be
it's
dope to see.
not a popularity contest, and that's what I think in the past 10 years happened. It went from like about the music to how many likes you have. You know what I mean? Because the first thing people ask if you say in your band is how many likes do you have, as if it
Yeah.
determines the how quality of your music. As where I know bands that have 100 likes that I've interviewed on here that have fucking epic music, but they have 100 likes. No one's gonna look at them because of that. And I'm like, that's like fucking a shame in itself, because that's what's limiting people to good music nowadays, and why they're stuck listening to electronic music with the same old shit over and over and over and over, instead of like something that's gonna touch your soul, like Eric Clapton or Janis Joplin or Jimi Hendrix. Like, they're legends for a reason. It's not because they fucking partied like rock stars, is because they genuinely touched people's soul with what they had to do. And I think that's what we do, but it's just like it's been hard for us to be seen. I don't know where it happened. It went from bands being able to be heard to bands not being able to be heard at all. And I don't necessarily think it's Spotify or streaming services. I just think it's the way the industry is building itself in with social media. For example, is definitely probably the biggest reason that the music industry has declined in my mind, because it's become like TikTok. How many bands are getting famous off TikTok for a 30-second video? Is music eventually going to become 30 seconds? And that's all we have to write, because no one has attention span versus a swipe of their finger. So it's scary, and I think that in time it'll change, and that's why we need to take it back into our own hands and just say, like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna go book a fucking church and have an all ages show, because these kids don't know what real music is, and we gotta take it back. So
I've never done that one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I never even
I
thought
think-
of that.
well, I think that's the thing. A key thing too is, like, for example, when we were 15, 16 and we were watching local bands, they were appealing to us. We were underage, but they still posted shows for us so that we could go and enjoy the music. Bands don't do that anymore. They want to appeal to just
Yeah.
bars. They want to just appeal to, but people in the bar are either paying for their drinks. They're not going to pay for your music. They don't buy your merch. So I think there was
Yeah.
a huge disconnect at some point between the younger crowd and bands trying to appeal to them. And that's why it became like, this is what you're given, this is what's popular, take it or leave it. Versus like, fuck yeah, let's go to that show of low so and so down the street, pay $5 and watch 10 bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So after COVID, I think that's gonna change. Like, I definitely see venues opening up and being more open to having bands, because I know here there was a lot of venues that are like, yeah, we don't book you, we won't book your style. You're losing, like, venues are losing customers that way. How many people can a band bring in? You know what I mean? Just because you don't like their style doesn't mean they can't bring customers. So I think there's, I don't know if you guys know who Shane Koizan is. He's a famous Canadian poet, and I think he's the only Canadian poet to ever win an American Poetry Award, actually. And he toured with the
Okay.
Dalai Lama, and he's from my hometown, and
Wow.
he wrote an article one time.
That's a name drop.
He wrote an article one time, and it was called "Where's the Beef?" And it's about local venues not helping local bands, even though that's what they call themselves.
Yeah.
In like a brief summary. And it was one of the best, well, like, written articles I've ever read, and it still hits me like almost 15, 18 years later, something like that. Like, I was a kid, and it's back then he was writing about it, and it's still happening. It's just got worse. So I'd like to see a change
Yeah.
in that, for sure. I think it would be essential for all of us if we just united. You know what I mean? There's a huge disconnect with the music industry. I think it's what they wanted. I don't know who they are, but they wanted it, and that's how I look at it because I don't think you guys wanted it. I didn't want it. I don't know any band that wanted a disconnect from working with other bands. So it's kind of like it was done unintentionally, and it needs to just kind of be like, yeah, we're gonna grab that back and take it back into our hands. Which would be, I think that's
Yeah,
what's
it's got to be up
what's gonna
to
happen.
us, you know.
It has to be like you guys have to take it into your hand, and that's why you record yourself, right? Independence is key, and I have like such a respect for bands that are doing that, and it's like being in a band, not even just being in a band, just as a human, looking at how hard and the work ethic of any musician is, you can't beat it. There's nobody who works harder than a musician. May not be physical, but the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, even in your sleep, you're dreaming, I'm working. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna fly. We're not gonna die. You know what I mean? And that's a key thing in music, and that's why music pushes people. So I'm excited. I don't look at COVID as a curse. I did at first. I fucking hated it. But now I'm like, you know what? No, it was needed. Everyone needed a year to just like cool out. So look how fucked up the world is and be like, you know what? These are the changes we can make. Let's slowly pick at them like a business plan. Everything comes back to business for me now, so it's COVID has ruined that. what
But
what
it's
do
time
you,
to rise, rise up from the ashes and just be better.
yeah. What if you guys could change anything in the industry, what do you think it would be?
That's a hard one.
That's a
Yeah.
great question.
If I could change anything in the industry. Probably I'm gonna say it. Probably like the money shed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a lot of stuff in the business that revolves around the money. You know, you don't even have to be good anymore to make it. If you got the pocketbook for it, you can throw any kind of garbage you want on the radio.
It does feel sort of pay to play.
It is 100%.
Unless you are able to like go viral somehow.
Which is, yeah, and I don't understand virality. It right over my head. Like no matter how hard I try to fucking make something that's like popular, I'm not that cool.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people like they do something outside of music and then they blow up and they're like, oh, now I want to do what I actually want to do, which is making music.
Yeah.
Like this is a very weird example to bring up, but look at Filthy Frank.
Mhm.
He made stupid, obscene YouTube videos, and he got viral, famous off of that. And he's like, okay, now that I'm famous on YouTube, I'm gonna quit doing that and make the music I actually want to make as Joji.
Yeah.
So like I've seen all that happen time and time again. People get viral on the internet, and then they like turn to do what they actually want to do because they have that notoriety, and then they're like, now I can use that.
And people sort of did that before the internet too. You see like Steve Martin playing banjo in House of Blues. Like people have always leveraged.
Remember Bad Baby did that too. She was on that show. And
Yeah.
and then she started touring.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's
So it's either go viral or
yeah. I don't think.
But yeah, it's the challenge of doing it on a global platform.
I mean, virality can only last for so long. Even if you're like a quick and upcoming band from a viral song, like, can you continue that? Can you continue to write those songs? Or was it just like a once in a lifetime thing? Like we used to have back in the day in the 90s.
Hard part.
Yeah. I think it'll get to a point. I think it's just because people are at home, honestly, and they're just like they have nothing better to do than just soak up this bullshit. And I think eventually, like, you know, if you eat too much candy, you get really fucking sick of that candy. You're just like, I don't ever want it again.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna happen with all this like popular fucking TikTok videos and shit. Like TikTok itself isn't going anywhere.
Dude, I hope so.
You know what I mean? It's not going anywhere, but I think as a platform, it is a smart thing for bands to have because a year from now, when it becomes the next Instagram, next Facebook kind of a thing, it is where you're going to gain your fans. And there is a younger fan base, but it's very hard to gain that fan base on TikTok if you're not doing stupid shit. And I'm not gonna lower my standards to doing stupid shit to gain fans. Like, I want them to like my music. So I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll be patient, like I've had to be patient my whole life. And that's I definitely hope that that changes though. Like Spotify, I want to do an episode on like actually like get statistics and like talk about the amount that musicians get paid, kind of thing, because I don't think people know what the number is from
Yeah,
Spotify.
That's a whole nother conversation.
It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Right?
So I was talking to a musician friend about this, and she had no idea. No idea how
It's
little.
disgusting. We are modern day slaves on our own accord. We get paid, I think it's 0.00478 a cent. Like that's what you get paid per stream. So if you have a million view or a million streams, you get paid like $4,300. It's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
sad,
and that's a lot of marketing to get up there.
right? Like how,
To
yeah,
get to that million.
yeah. And
So
it's-
you're always not going to come out on top financially.
Never. And same with like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Artifact by 30 Seconds to Mars. It's a really good documentary about how they basically said fuck their record label and got off of it without owing any money, which was pretty impossible for anyone who's signed to a major label. Because if they give you $1 million for an album, they expect 1.5 back. You never get out of debt as a musician. So anybody we know that's popular as fuck and in the tabloids and fucking Kanye's, it's not because they want to be, it's because it's making the only money that's making that money back to the record label. Like
Yeah,
they
that's why we like we've gotten some offers and we stay away from like 360 deals and shit.
oh fuck yeah, no, I try to
A lot of those deals, it's like you never own the music,
mm-hmm.
you know, but you're constantly writing for a company and the company constantly is making money on your accord and then you're broke. But because you're a musician, people call you successful.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. So we try to stay away from that. And it's like I actually learned to like being independent during this whole time because it's like I want to do this. I want to do this. We want to do it like this. And it's like it just happens. And it's like I rather take my time and do what I want the way I want it to than someone else saying, hey, that's a garbage idea because no one's gonna buy it.
It's
You
good
know?
to have it's good to have that control over it. Like, do you want to sell yourself and make a little bit of money, get a little famous, or do you want to like stick true to your guns? And then, you know, if people enjoy what you create, that's actually genuine. Then that's to me at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Is that making music that I like and I care about and expresses emotions that I have, and that other people get that. And people listen to that and they understand what we were trying to convey.
And that's what comes for me. I always have to ask myself the question is, would I still do this if I wasn't making money? And if the answer is no, you have a problem and you need to stop.
Yeah, no, I
So,
don't
Jan,
I don't think
what?
I can
Jan?
I don't think I could see myself going back to building houses after COVID now. Like cool, I'm a carpenter, but like at this point in my life, this and my band is what I want to do. I have
Yeah.
you know when they tell you like create something that makes you happy and you can do it for a lifetime?
Yeah.
I've always been happy when I find new bands, like find the newest band that I can fall in love with and just like grow with them, you know what I mean? So for somehow this popped into my head and I just went with it and I'm still just kind of running with it. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to stop doing this in my band. Even if I have to like figure out a way to struggle my ass off just to do it, like this is what I'm going to do. So I think I definitely want musicians to get paid more so that we can do this as a job, a lifestyle. Because even if the governments somehow managed to like make it a job, you know what I mean? Like they're like, okay, you make X amount of dollars an hour, 8 hours a day, but those 8 hours a day, you're either recording, you're booking, you're working, you're marketing. Like you have to get your shit ready for a tour or so and so or like this label, but this is how much you get paid, so you don't have to worry about going and working. You know what I mean? If you get to a certain point and you prove to the government or something that this is like, okay, this is a viable job for you, I think that it'd be cool if they had a backing for that and made it so that you got paid I don't know, minimum wage even. You know, like as long as your
Yeah, that would be
bills,
interesting.
you know, as long as your bills are paid, you got food in your fridge and a roof over your head, I don't think any musician's gonna complain. None of us care about money. We care about music. So if it was,
Exactly, especially because like this kind of art is needed in the world. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
So much.
oh man,
Like
since
it is in
since
every
cave,
form though. Like it not only sets a scene like in a movie, but it's a good listening tool. It could be whatever you want, and it's like imagine a world without artists. Everybody would be really pissed off.
yeah, no, I mean,
That's all types of media. It's, you know, people who are creative that are
Everything.
putting stuff out there, whether it be movies or music or visual art. You know,
hmm
without that, people would be going crazy.
I don't think people realize that like when we left Africa, we already had invented drums. When we left Africa to go all over the world, we had already created drums. They're the longest running like instrument. They were the first thing. We had music from the moment we built language. It's in us. It's embedded in our bodies, our DNA, to love music. And I don't. Yeah, I think it's just like it's too flooded. People don't care at this point. I think it's just like they've been sitting around doing nothing for so long that it's just like yeah, 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 yeah. I think eventually they're gonna get tired of what they listen to and be like, hear just one song on the radio with a guitar, you know what I mean? And just be like, ooh, what is that? And then eventually it'll slowly grow again. But I think in time. I think it just takes time.
Yeah.
No good album, no good song, no good band ever came overnight. So it's definitely determination on all levels. Doesn't matter what you're doing. That's what creates a good band. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
Thank you.
No
Yeah.
worries.
That's a good one. I'm sorry. I was trying to channel my inner Canadian and say thank you.
Right? I know it's yeah, sorry and thank you. It's
Sorry, I love that.
yeah, sorry for everything. I don't understand it. Like I'm Canadian and I'm like I tend to do it subconsciously.
Yeah.
Or like my partner Norman, he's always like A, and he always says it to bands from the States, and I'm like, bro, they're gonna think we live in fucking igloos. Stop it. Like it's,
That's we're in the Midwest, so we're always like, oh, let me just squeeze right
Yeah,
by
yeah,
that.
oh, the same
Right.
energy.
yeah, no, it's I think everybody in the world, it's funny because I've talked to people from Hungary, people from UK, the States, Malta. We have one scheduled from like Colombia, and every single band I've talked to is basically the same. Like we're all the same. It's weird to see how many musicians are just like collectively just this one like-minded thing, and it's cool because I never thought that it was like that. I always thought bands were different. You know what I mean? Like oh, but reality, like there's a certain type of person that becomes a musician and has a band, like a dedicated band.
But we're all
Like,
scattered all over the world.
yeah, and there's like it's a huge family, but we just don't know how to like meet our cousins. We gotta like stretch out and reach our cousins on the other side of the globe, and like it's cool. It's I think in the long run, like it'll be really cool with the music industry because I think like if we can manage to make touring in the UK a lot easier and touring from Canada to the States a lot easier somehow, fuck, that'd be wicked. Because I know it's really hard to get from here to the States. You have to have like a tour visa or a working visa, and you have to prove that. I know you can do it illegally by going over or something and like staying for 2 months and just not saying you're performing, but you're fucking performing. But like, I ain't gonna risk that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of paperwork, which sucks. I wish that it wasn't so hard. I wish it was like, oh yeah, you guys are in a band, you want to tour? Awesome. But it's not yet. Maybe one day, because it used to be. Bands used to be able to do whatever the fuck
I
they
mean,
wanted.
especially with COVID right now, like they're not letting a lot of people travel outside of their respective countries.
Yeah.
No, I only know a couple bands actually performing right now, and one of them's out of Texas. The other one's out of South Carolina. So they're open, I guess, and performing, but they still have like masks while performing, unless it's a singer, kind of a thing. So it is weird. I can't wait till masks are done. Like that'll be a wicked thing. Like being able to like go back to a venue and have a beer and like hang out with people.
Yeah.
A $9 beer.
Right?
You're gonna miss that overpriced beer.
Or a free PBR that they gave you for being a band.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
One beer for the whole band. Too.
Yeah. I've legit had that happen. It was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, how much money do you make off a band?
Yeah.
That's another thing. I wish fucking venues paid bands. It wasn't none of this, like, you get the door bullshit. Man, do you know how much money those fuckers make on drink sales? Versus, like, the, like, $100, $200 you make at the door? Like, fuck that shit. We definitely need to take that back and be like, nah, if you want bar sales, you're gonna have to pay the band. You just gotta go to those really, like, dive bars that no one goes to and make them popular. That's what you gotta do. All right, guys. Well, definitely
Another
thank
good
you.
idea.
Right? Thank you guys for coming on. And when you release any music, let me know because I'd definitely love to have you guys back on.
Yeah, we'll send you stuff. And then once we got our third album coming out, it's gonna be titled Transcendence. We'll hit you up. Maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah, for sure.
And
And
we also
we'll,
appreciate being on your program.
oh, no worries. Thanks for coming on. It's like I said earlier, we're trying to build that community and that network for bands. Like this is kind of like our way of putting the energy out there to the universe to see what happens. So, and I think in time, like something good will come of it. And yeah, when you guys get your album, we'll let us know and what day it comes out and everything, and we'll post it and promote it.
Sweet.
All right, you guys stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hit that little dicky bell because you don't want to miss out on any of the motherfucking shit we drop in. Right, Norman?
Absolutely, Rob.